Hello, everybody, and welcome to another podcast of the Pharmaversity. The topic we will be talking about today is about manufacturing processes for injectable drugs. What is the standard today and where the trend is leading to, and for sure, its implications on the primary packaging. My name is Neus, and today with me is Robert Lindner. He's Global Product Manager for ready-to-use vials at SCHOTT Pharma. Robert joined SCHOTT in 2019, and he's located in Switzerland, in St. Gallen. Hello, Robert.
Hi, Neus.
Nice to have you back here. So, for the audience, if we have Robert here with us today, it's because the topic of the manufacturing goes hand to hand with the sterile vials, which is Robert's expertise. So let's learn right away the connection between these two topics. Okay, so to start with, session abstract indicates that fundamentally, to tackle the current challenges in fill and finish in the pharmaceutical industry, it's necessary a rethinking of the manufacturing processes. Can you please tell us more? What exactly are these challenges?
Yeah, sure. Great question to start with. So, I think the pharmaceutical industry has three core challenges currently that occur during drug product manufacturing. And the first one, I think, predominantly is a challenge to focus on the core based on the increasing value chain complexity. The second one being, of course, always ensuring patient safety. I think this is one of the main goals that the pharmaceutical industry has. Yeah, so you want to detect and eliminate areas of risk along the whole value chain, and then, of course, you want to gain speed. So you want to bring a medication to the market faster. One, of course, to speed up the patient benefit, but on the other hand, of course, also to maximize your own patent lifetime.
Thank you. So to ensure that everybody listening is on the same page, what do you understand exactly under the term ready-to-use containers?
So ready-to-use containers are containers that can be directly introduced into fill and finish line. So more specifically, containers that do not need any pre-treatment anymore, right? So if you think about aseptic manufacturing, so that that you don't have a terminal sterilization anymore, you need to wash and depyrogenate your containers before they enter the aseptic filling area, and that is something that can also be done beforehand. So before they're being shipped to the fill and finish facility, what you need then is a secondary packaging that acts as a sterile barrier, and that is protecting the sterility and the cosmetic quality of the containers. And this process and the packaging concept has been around for syringes since several decades, so for the pre-fillable syringes, but now it's getting more and more on the commercial scale, also for containers such as vials.
Okay, so what are exactly the market drivers behind this, let's say, increase in ready-to-use vials demand?
So for the market trends, I think they are, more generally speaking, also valid for aseptic filling in general. So that that involves patient-centric treatments, but also easier life cycle management, smaller batch sizes, higher regulatory standards and demands that pharmaceutical companies need to adhere to, and this increasing complexity drives the trend that production is being outsourced, for example, to CDMOs to reduce supply chain risks, but also to be more flexible, for example, by new production concepts such as scale out of production.
Mm-hmm. Okay, you just mentioned that this trend with outsourcing. So I'd like maybe to elaborate a little bit more. So what are exactly the reasons, and if you could explain us some more details, why the pharma companies increasingly outsource production steps, or let's say production in general?
Yeah, so outsourcing of production steps offers a higher supply chain resilience, yeah, because if you produce your product on different sites, you have, let's say broader manufacturing base, and you don't have a, yeah, so to speak, a single point of failure. Yeah. And also, of course, if you, for example, source out to a CDMO, you can react more flexibly towards changing market demands. So when there is a spike, you can more easily react to that, sell more product, even maybe have a more localized production. And this, of course, helps a lot in keeping your supply chain resilient, and at the same time adapt to the changing market demands. But of course, this increases complexity of the overall operation, right? Because it's getting broader and it's not as lean, so to speak. And this then calls again, in order to handle all of that, that you have to reduce the complexity again. And this means you have to standardize processes. And this is something that can be easily achieved with ready-to-use vials, yeah, because two highly crucial process steps, the washing and the sterilization, as said before, that is already built into the ready-to-use vials. So you don't have to deal with these two process steps. This greatly simplifies your fill and finish operation, because that's all that's built into the packaging, that's already validated on the supplier side, and of course the internal capabilities and capacities can be used for other more beneficial beneficial processes.
So what are the further benefits of these ready-to-use vials you'd like to maybe point out?
Sure. So the first part I just mentioned was really about focusing on the core. So reducing complexity in the overall operation, because there is a lot of complexity to handle, yeah, and therefore you need, or reducing complexity gets easier if you have good partners you can rely on. But of course, I mentioned patient safety. That is also, of course, a benefit of ready-to-use vials and also ready-to-use containers in general, because when you look at the secondary packaging, since everything is transported from the site to the fill and finish operation, and also within the fill and finish operation within a nest and without any glass-to-glass contact, you greatly reduce the number of cosmetic defects. Yeah. And also you reduce the risk of particles. So when you think, for example, of a regular bulk filling line, you have vials that are bumping into each other, especially in the heat tunnel. It's hot, and you have a lot of axial forces and a lot of side forces where the vials bump into each other. That creates a lot of defects. And these defects, of course, they create particles, but also these defects result in a higher number of rejects at the final inspection, because these systems, they cannot differentiate whether it's a defect, yeah, a scratch or a bump check in the vial, or maybe even a particle that is in your solution. And when we think about high value biotech drugs, then of course saving costs is by reducing the number of rejects at the final inspection, and saving a lot of precious medication from being rejected, I think is something that greatly benefits patient safety.
Fully understood. And yeah, I can imagine one filling line with, let's say, crowded bulk vials versus processing with no glass-to-glass contact, so two different worlds. Thanks for that, Robert. Tackling now the third challenge you mentioned, no? the speed of the pharmaceutical industry. So the time to market, I think you called it. What is the impact that ready-to-use vials, or let's say ready-to-use containers, contribute to or have on this aspect?
So it's clearly a positive impact that it has on really gaining speed and entering the market earlier, because I already said before that two of the most crucial processing steps are already built in. That is the washing and the depyrogenation. Then we have desanitization also built in, and every process step that you don't have to develop and validate and check whether your filling line is actually capable of doing that, or having to adapt the process, buying format parts, etc. All of that saves you time, and saving time means you can enter the market earlier, and by this you can generate more cash flow because you're maximizing your patent lifetime. And we are speaking about really months, or about single months, that are making a difference on market entry. Yeah. So there are a lot of examples out in the market where you can see that the moment the patent expires, the revenue of the medication significantly drops, because you have a lot of good generics and biosimilars that are entering in the same space, yeah, and are driving competition. And if you can extend that delta a bit more by entering the market a couple of months earlier than with a let's say traditional process where you also have to develop and validate your own washing and sterilization cycles, etc., that of course significantly impacts your cash flow. Another very important point for ready-to-use containers is that it is easier to implement a life cycle management task. Yeah. So when you want to switch from a vial to a syringe or a cartridge, because it's easier for the patient to, for example, self-administer, or it's easier for the healthcare professional to administer the drug. Then, of course, if you go to ready-to-use containers, which come in a standardized format, this also gives you a lot of benefit. And of course, we are talking then about patient convenience, and patient convenience, of course, also gives you this competitive advantage, even if already your patent has expired. And I mean, generating cash flow is crucial. Yeah, I mean, you need to earn the money back from the clinical trials that are very expensive, and of course, we need to fund the development of novel life-saving drugs for diseases that don't have a treatment yet, for example, right? Or to improve the already existing drugs.
Yeah, amazing. It's not only, let's say, the money, it's really the lives that can be saved coming earlier to the market. Wow, impressive. Okay, so Robert, we've reached the end of our conversation. I thank you very much for introducing us, let's say, the main challenges with current fill and finish processing, and how the ready-to-use containers, vials, can, let's say, significantly improve and overcome such challenges. I wish you very, not luck, but good success with running projects. I know you have many, and supporting, let's say, the industry towards a better future, especially for the patients.
Thanks, Niels.
And I would like also to thank the audience for being there, for your time today. And I hope it was informative, the session. Please feel free to also check the webinar recording of the session, in which Robert provided more details about what he has mentioned here briefly. And we hope to meet and hear from you soon in our future Pharmaversity sessions. Thank you, and bye-bye.